Hey, hey, my sisters. I am so happy to be here with you today. We're talking about this forgiveness experiment, and this is sort of an update and all the things that are revealing themselves to me. And this has been quite an experiment. And I look away because I'm trying to just think about all the perfect words to say because it's so deep and it's affected me in such a great way. I read this book earlier this year and it was talking about how this man went to a retreat and he didn't know what it was all about, but it was about forgiveness. And he said that made the biggest impact in his work as well as in his life, to be able to just really truly forgive. And that's sort of what I've been playing with, is forgiveness. And not so much the forgiveness that I've already given to people, because I've done a lot of this forgiveness work. I've done a lot of the forgiveness work where people have harmed me, and if I don't forgive them, it's more like drinking poison and thinking it's going to hurt them than it is like actually harming them. Right? Like, unforgiveness has its own side effects. And so I've been willing to forgive other people. But the thing that I've really discovered with this experiment is asking for forgiveness and looking at my life and seeing where I've been harmed, but also what part did I play in my life. And it has made me realize that this is a very impactful way to take full responsibility for your life, to ask for forgiveness. And the thing that I think we're afraid of is to feel the feelings, to feel that we're valuable enough to be forgiven, that we're afraid of actually getting what we want if we ask for forgiveness. Like, I'll be honest, the thing that I've wanted the most in my entire life is the real authentic love of my family. I always felt like it was conditioned, like because I was a good girl, because I was a high achiever, that's why they loved me. And there's also part of why I think my siblings hated me. But again, that's part of my story. So maybe it's totally false, and I don't know. So just a little background. I read a book called Left to Tell. And the author's name is Immaculée, and she survived the Rwandan genocide. And this is not like a book that I was excited about reading, but it had been recommended to me enough times that I decided to go ahead and pick it up and go ahead and read it. And I don't read books in one day, but I read that book in one solid day, just like cover to cover. I devoured it. It was fascinating and horrifying and heart-opening, and I cried during, you don't cry reading books usually, but I cried reading this book. And she forgave the man who was responsible for killing her family and killing thousands probably of people in her community. She forgave him at the end of the book, and it set her free to actually make a life for herself. Because can you imagine carrying around that burden of hatred and feeling as if you're a victim for your whole life? You would never make much of yourself. So you've got to be able to set yourself free by forgiving. And for me, the part of this that really hit home is like, okay, I haven't been perfect. And I need to take responsibility for the relationships that I've had with the people that I want something from, which is just love. I mean, it's like, who doesn't want love? We all want to be loved. It's a human basic need, okay? But I needed to take responsibility for the fact that I shielded myself from them. It's hard to even speak it out loud. I didn't trust them to love me, and so then I couldn't let their love in. Even the love that they were giving me, whether it was perfect or not, I couldn't let it in. And so I kept building walls, and I kept resisting, and I kept seeing, we're meaning-making machines as humans. And so we create this meaning, and you see this thing over there that proves that your belief is correct, that your story is right. And it may not be. It may actually be something completely different. So I wrote a letter, a Ho'oponopono letter, to each of my family members. I've got 3 siblings and 2 parents. And they were all individualized. And the Ho'oponopono prayer is, thank you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, right? So I started each paragraph with those 4 sentences and added to it. And I appreciated each of them for being who they are and how they've been a part of my life. I said, I'm sorry for all the things that I've done that were not kind or sisterly or, all the things. I just illuminated all of those things. And I'm sure I didn't even know if I scratched the surface of some of it, because I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect, right? We're absolutely imperfect human beings. And so I was just doing this to take responsibility for my peace in our relationship. Because I'll have to say, I don't have like the best relationship. I don't have a terrible relationship with my family by any means, but my siblings, like, it's been distant. Okay. So anyways, I'm sorry. And then I asked for forgiveness for specific things and finished up, I love you, and this is why. And I had no idea how any of them were going to receive this. I think I told you guys this. I didn't even tell my husband that I was doing this because I knew he was going to talk me out of it, because forgiveness is not logical shit. Like, he's a very logical man, and it just doesn't make sense to him. But I know for me and for most of us, to be an authentic leader, we have to do the things we're asking other people to do. We need to walk our talk and show up and actually be brave, and be brave enough to be vulnerable to the people that are important to us, but maybe haven't been, maybe there's been distance there. Okay. Now, this isn't to say you have to like get all warm and fuzzy with your family. It doesn't matter what happens, because that's the point. You send these letters with a kiss and with love, and you don't expect anything in return. Okay? Nothing. I kind of forgot that I sent them until a couple of days ago when my sister called me and she said, I got your letter, and I've been kind of pondering it for the last couple of days. And because I didn't know what to say. So anyways, first conversation was a bit challenging about this, but I had to be willing to have that conversation with her. And for one of my sisters, it dredged up really ugly things that she thought she had buried or healed, and it didn't. And it sort of brought them back up to the surface. And that was not the intention, of course. But those are things that she has to deal with. Like, I can't fix her. So all I can do is take responsibility for my aspects. So that's what I was doing. And then I talked to my parents. My husband's like, hey, after I told him what I did, he's like, well, that was weird. And you should probably tell your parents what's going on so that they don't think that there's anything wrong. So I called my parents, and completely opposite of how my sister reacted. They were like, oh my gosh, we love you, Mindy, and we appreciate that you said these things, and we always wanted you, and you are so loved, and you've been amazing. Like, totally different response. Then later on, I called my sister-in-law and sort of talked to my brother through her, because they both have COVID and he's just feeling like terrible. So she said, hey, we got your letter. And James just asked me straight away, like, what happened? And nothing happened. Like, I just opened my heart. That's all I did. I opened my heart to ask for forgiveness, to be able to be vulnerable in front of these people. Because if I have barriers around my heart when I'm with them or around them or talking to them on the phone, then I'm never going to be able to receive their love. And that, like I said, that's the thing I've wanted the most my whole life. And then later that night, my other sister, I got a text message from her, and it was kind and heartfelt and warm. So like 4.5 out of 5, I think positive responses is not so bad. I mean, like, the first one was sort of 50-50, and then the rest of them were highly positive. And I went to bed that night going, wow, I just got the thing that I've wanted the most my whole life. I have it now. Because I was willing to ask for it. I was willing to be vulnerable and say I'm not perfect. And it's like, I don't even know what to do with it now. I don't even really know how to receive it, which is crazy shit talk. Like, oh my gosh, mind blowing. But this forgiveness experiment, I highly encourage you to try this out, because it is changing me. It sort of feels like it's changing my DNA very slowly and methodically, but like absolutely rearranging everything inside of me, because I have basically disproven much of my own story. Do you know the power in that? dismantling your story so that you're free to be the person you want to be? It's mind blowing. I almost said a bad word there because that's how much, like, it's crazy talk, okay? And now it's just a practice of allowing this beautiful gift back into my life, knowing that it's always been there for me, and owning up to the fact that I was the one resisting it, right? So who can you ask for forgiveness? Where have you been harmed? Who has harmed you? And what piece of it can you take responsibility for? You probably didn't know you were doing it at the time. You didn't know you were, building walls around your heart and protecting yourself from these people. You didn't consciously know you were doing that. But now that you have hindsight, you have a different perspective, you've healed some already, what can you take responsibility for? And who can you ask for forgiveness from? Sometimes that's you. Maybe write that letter to yourself. But oftentimes it's the people that we grew up with. You can write this letter to your parents if they've passed. Just sometimes writing it and putting it out into the ethers can do the work for you. And just don't expect anything in return. Don't expect to have big, bold, bad conversations or really exciting, healthy, happy, harmonious conversations. Don't expect that you're going to heal your relationships with your siblings or expect that you're not going to heal your relationship to your siblings. Let yourself be open to all possibilities and be willing to show up for those possibilities when they show up for you, right? Those are all opportunities, and you've got to show up as your highest, bestest self. So I would, again, I'm really curious if you're doing this. I'm really curious if you have the courage to do this. One of the things my sister said, the last one who responded to me, was, thank you for your bravery. Thank you for your bravery. And that's what it takes to show up as our best selves. Like, don't be afraid to go out and ask for what you want. Don't be afraid to break down barriers that have been there for years or decades or months or days. Like, stop being afraid that you're not going to get exactly what you want. Who cares if you get exactly what you want? You're going to get exactly what you deserve, which is a great thing. Like, I'm not saying that in a really terrible way. To the best way possible, you're going to get exactly what you deserve because you deserve amazing things. You deserve to free yourself of this weight and this baggage and this exhausting energy. That is part of why you're feeling so run down, so burnt out, and so living on autopilot. You don't have to do that anymore. So tell me, are you going to be brave enough to try this out? If you have questions, please either just leave a comment or direct message me and we can chat about it. But you're not alone in this. Let's do this together as a community and see what kind of light we can shine upon our world and what kind of lightness we can bring to our own lives, to our own communities, to our own families. Like, I know that I'm here for my family to show up as the best version of me, to show that it's possible. Because I know that we've all been through hard times. I know that my parents weren't perfect. Nobody's parents were perfect. And yet they did their best. And now it's up to us in this generation to solve those ancestral patterns, to show up and be empowered and be our bright, brilliant, beautiful selves. And if you're looking for support on this, DM me. Like, it's going to be so much fun going into this stuff and helping you through it so that you can get out of burnout, get out of overwhelm and exhaustion and feeling like you're just on robot and self-sabotaging yourself by doubting every fucking step of the way, by having an inner battle go on inside of you. All those things are happening, and forgiveness is one way out. There are lots of ways that I'm going to teach you, but forgiveness is one way out. And so if you want to live in freedom of who you really are, to shine your light bright and to not show up as a different person in every fucking scenario. Sorry that I'm just irritated because that was me. Like, I always showed up as a different person every place I freaking went. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting wearing all those hats, wearing all those masks, not just the stupid COVID ones that don't work, but the actual energetic masks that say you can't be you. Enough of that. that's what we work on in my program. So if you're excited about that and you're ready to take that leap into who you are, let's talk. And if you're ready to just dabble, try this experiment out and see what happens, because it is soul freeing to do this. All right. If you have questions, again, ask away. I'll respond to everybody. Okay. Lots of love to you. Bye.